Kim McSween, also known as Kim Cooper, of Grandance, who resided at New Hampshire St. George, passed away on Monday 29th May 2023 at the age of 49. She was the mother of Terry Cooper, Shawntae McSween, Dwayne Williams Jr., and Sweeraj McSween, adopted mother of Malian Lessie, Shaquila Duncan, Trina Celestine, and Giovanna Antwine, grandmother of Daviel, David Jr., Adira, Adrian, Tristan, and Ishmael, stepdaughter of Gloria Toussaint in the USA, sister of many including Charles Toussaint in the USA, Edwin Cooper, also known as Ello, Christopher Joseph, Crispin Augustine in Canada, Sean Best, Nigel Cooper, Damien in the USA, Cathian Cooper Jacob, Christine Felix, and Daniela McSween, adopted sister of John McGilvray, sister-in-law of Marcia Toussaint, Erin Jacob, Merrill Lohar, Lynn Cato, Joseph, Avril Best, and Lennox Felix, mother-in-law of Siobhan Jack, close friend of Sylvan McIntyre, many aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives and close friends including the McSween, Cooper, Charles, Superville and Stevenson families, Diane Mark and family, Lennox John, the 1990 graduating class of the Grenada Boys Secondary School, the management and staff of Spice Island Beach Resort, the pastor and members of the Church of God Worldwide Mission, Nigel Lacroix and family, Elon Robinson and family, and friends and neighbors of Grandance, New Hampshire and surrounding areas. The funeral of the late Kim McSween, also known as Kim Cooper, of Grandance, who resided at New Hampshire St. George, will take place on Thursday 29th June at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the Gateway Assembly Point Saline St. George, and interment will be at the Grandance Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Irene Anastasia St. Hilaire, also known as Mother, of Dudmar St. David, a well-known market vendor, passed away on Friday 26 May 2023 at the age of 95. She was the mother of Mary St. Hilaire, Jennifer Mitchell, Cynthia Marichaux Phillip, Douglas St. Hilaire, Dominic Mitchell, and Keisha St. Hilaire Licorice, grandmother of John Greenwich, Ernesto, Orlando, Leanna and Aquino Romaine, Shondell and Alicia Mitchell, Donnelly Albert, Rochelle Franklin, Wendy Ann Greenwich, Kira and Kira Jaggernaut, and Marissa Sleeman, great-grandmother of many including Naisha St. Hilaire, Kizzy, Akim and Sasha Greenwich, Amaya Jaggernaut, Reginald Aidan Ferguson, Delon Mitchell, and Neon Licorice, great-great-grandmother of many, mother-in-law of Hugh Romaine, Ian Phillip, and Nigel Licorice, sister-in-law of Rosa Mitchell, aunt of many in the USA and Grenada including Alan, Ricky, Calvin, Velda, Jenilyn, Joan, Hermelin, and Joseph Mitchell. Many other close relatives and friends including Reno Mitchell, Legas, Louis Victor and family, the Honoré, Let, Mitchell, Hazard and Francis families, the St. Hilaire family of Carriacou and Crowshoe, and friends and neighbors of Dudmar and surrounding areas. The funeral of the late Irene Anastasia St. Hilaire, also known as Mother, of Dudmar St. David, will take place on Thursday 29th June at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the Vincent's Pentecostal Church, and interment will be at the Windsor Forest Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Paul Elrene Phillip, also known as Pablo, Bunnyleg and Bug, of Glebe Street Satires, who resided at La Fortune St. Patrick, marine biologist and environmental consultant for climate change, and past teacher of McDonald's College, the Grenada Boys Secondary School, and the St. Rose Modern Secondary School, passed away on Tuesday, June 6, 2023, at the age of 68. He is survived by his partner, Rosa Evis Alexander. He was the father of Marcel in the USA, Andy, Shay, Devon, also known as Blacks, Kellon, Michelle, Nasha, Nadja, Delon, Ashney, Ashel, Shondi, Elrene, Joshua, Rachel, Donna, and Debbie. brother of Rosemary Patterson in the UK, Hazelan, Hector, Glitter and Pauline in Grenada, Joyce, Winston, Joycelyn and Gloria in the USA, Raymond, Grace and Jacqueline in Trinidad. Grandfather of Shay Jr., Umaya, Tamaya, Azariah, Carlos, Sydney, Namali, Naisha, Octavia, Ravon, Adiah, Wadden, O'Brien, Kalia, Keziah, Annabella and Andy Jr. Uncle of many including Kelly, Daryl, Stefana, Jamelia, Melissa, Tonya, Bushies, Richard and Kirk. Brother-in-law of many including Rose, Walter, Bernadette, Teresa, Geneva and Theodore, Antonia and Yolanda Alexander. Many other relatives and friends including Mr. Linford and Mrs. Jeanette, Miss Deborah, Mr. Brown and family, the MacDonald family of Hermitage, Andre, Span, Kenny, Jonelle, Toby, Mr. Joseph, Sonia, Anne-Marie, Dolliver and Alima, the Courtney family of Paraclete, the GEF Small Grant, past and current co-workers of Fisheries, the Environment, Spectro and Small Grant, and friends and neighbours of Sataz, La Fortune and surrounding areas. The funeral service for the late Paul L. Reen Phillip, also known as Pablo, Bunnyleg and Bug, of Glebe Street, Sataz, who resided at La Fortune St. Patrick, will take place on Thursday, 29th June at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the St. Patrick R.C. Church, Sataz, and interment will be at the Morley Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Moses Gurry James of Chantilly St. Andrew, who resided at Duquesne St. Mark, passed away on Tuesday, May 30th, 2023, at the age of 90. He was the father of Marvelyn Fletcher, father-in-law of Davis Fletcher, grandfather of Marissa, Max Vaughan and Maxine, great-grandfather of Micaiah and Malik, uncle of 6 including Brenda and Azra in Canada, and Grace and Anita in Trinidad. Many cousins, other relatives and close friends including Oris, Shanika, Larisha, Steve, Shawnee, Marilyn, Hanif, Paula and Joshua, Kester, Carol, Willard, Tina, Manu, Omari Forrester, the Diali, Slinger, Downs and Williams families of Paraclete, the Gurry and James families of Cloget, the pastor and members of the Duquesne Bible Holiness Church, and friends and neighbors of Duquesne, Birch Grove, Cloget and surrounding areas. The funeral of the late Moses Gurry James of Chantilly St. Andrew, who resided at Duquesne St. Mark, will take place on Friday, June 30th at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the New Testament Church of God, Birch Grove St. Andrew, according to Bible holiness rites, and interment will be at the St. Rose Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Joseph Williams, also known as Joe and Hamilton, of Caliste, who resided at Lansopine St. George and in the United Kingdom, passed away on Monday, 12th June 2023, at the age of 84, left to mourn his wife Sybil Williams, children Ian, Anne, Ivan and Gemma, nephews Ian Bernard, Diane and Colin, sister-in-law Clara Simmons, son-in-law Byron Campbell, grandchildren Cameron, Reese, Haley, Hatui, Fannin and Aaron. Other relatives and family including Keisha and family, Monica Mark and family, Norma McQuilkin of Caliste, Geraldine Lane, Leslie and Brenda Scott, Clovis and Martina Dubiset in the UK, Anne and Michael Entwine of Woodlands, Samuel Mapson, Lyra Fortune and Tracy, Teresa Stevenson and family, Lyris Buckmeyer, Dr. Spencer, Dr. Martin, Dr. Carrie Kennedy in the UK, Deborah St. Bernard, Renato James, Mark Roberts, Oral Murrell, Rundle Pear, Alsted Cardew, Ramon Ramdeen, Daniel Caliste, Sheena Williams, Cameron Penny, and Junior Panchu. The funeral of the late Joseph Williams, also known as Joe and Hamilton, of Caliste, who resided at Lansopine St. George and in the United Kingdom, will take place on Monday, July 3rd at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the Blessed Sacrament Church according to Anglican rites, and interment will be at the Grandon Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Vernice Marichaud, also known as Sister of Vendome St. George, passed away on Thursday, 15th June 2023, at the age of 85. She was the mother of Hermie and Johnny in Grenada and Irva in the USA, adopted mother of Everton in Trinidad, grandmother of Houston, Ciron, Richie, Talia, Shondell, Troy, Tracy, Giovanna, Cathian, and Jediah, great-grandmother of Anaya, Therese, Dory, and Jediah, sister of Brenda and Mikey in Grenada, Leroy in Trinidad, and Zephyrin in the USA, mother-in-law of Cephas, Alan, Joanna, and Margaret, sister-in-law of Jeremiah, many nieces and nephews including Rhea, Risha, Hazelan, Kareen Dale, Joey, Nadine, Kurt, Wendell, Gary, and Randy. Other relatives and close friends including Zai, Philo, LaShawn, Gladys, Rita, Sister Mary, Lynette and family, Narissa and family, Raphael and the Andrews family of Mount Parnassus, the Batiste family of Boca, Willis and in Trinidad, Janice and the Francis family, Doreen and family, Joan and family, Dada and family, the Andrews family of Willis and in Trinidad, members of the Vendome Pentecostal Church, and neighbors and friends of Vendome and surrounding areas. The funeral of the late Vernice Marichaud, also known as Sister of Vendome St. George, will take place on Monday, July 3rd at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the Beaulieu New Testament Church of God, and interment will be at the Vendome Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Gertrude Thompson, also known as Alona George of Chantymel St. Patrick, who resided at Fontenoy St. George, passed away on Tuesday, 13th June 2023, at the age of 75. She was the mother of Helen Euler George Thompson, Margaret George, Rhonda Saron George, Kenda and Kashka Thompson in Canada, and Sekou Thompson in Grenada, stepmother of Sandra Andrews and Gillian Sylvester Vasquez in the USA, Anthony Alexander and Alison Blair in Trinidad, Junior Penchu and Cassandra Caliste in Grenada, grandmother of Olanza, Gerard, Sasha, Otis, Caden, Kai, Henry, Luca, Kahim, Shakir, and Kayla, great-grandmother of Tishana, Zayden, Javier, Zarian, Jaden, and Joshua, sister of Arthur Francis and Bishop Dr. Gifford Clement in the USA, Godfrey Thompson, Brenda Perry and Esther McLean in Grenada, and Sandra George in Canada, mother-in-law of Vanda Joseph and Melissa Suddy, sister-in-law of Denise Clement, Bernard Bull Perry, and Wilbert McLean, aunt of many including Erin, Ernestine, Jimmy, Camo, Kimo, Anne, and Zariah, godmother of Margaret Etienne and Michelle Samuel. Many other relatives and friends in Grenada, Trinidad, the USA, England, and Canada, including the Thompson family of Chantymel and Caliste, the George family of Chantymel and St. Mark, the Lewis, Noel, and Charles families of Chantymel, the Thomas family of Chantymel and Fontenoy, the Harry Joseph family of Concord and St. George, the Samuel family of Fontenoy and St. David, Julian Gross Lewis, Betty Regis and family, Julian Neptune, Dennis Deanne, Kathy Abraham and family, Josephine Caliste and family, Anthea Bain and family, and friends and neighbors of Fontenoy, Cherry Hill, and Grand Mall. The funeral service for the late Gertrude Thompson, also known as Alona George of Chantymel St. Patrick, who resided at Fontenoy St. George, will take place on Wednesday, July 5th at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the Garden of Remembrance Funeral Chapel, Cemetery Hill, St. George's, according to Pentecostal rites, and interment will be at the St. George's Center Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Peter Densley Martin, also known as Parley of Chantymel, who resided at Plains St. Patrick, died on Monday, June 12, 2023, at the age of 80. Left to Mona his lifelong companion, Maudlin, children Joni, Richard, Emon, Ghana, and Ronald Martin. Adopted son, Rondell Frame. 6 grandchildren including Risa, Morris and Malcolm, 2 sisters, many nieces and nephews including Tony Nicholas, Joseph Belfon and family, Eulyn Pascal and family, and Agnes Pascal and family. Caregivers Hazel and Thomas and Bernadine Mark. Other relatives and friends including Labby, Frame, Don, Teresa, Ching, Tonya, Bill Phillip, Joycelyn Rayburn, Alex and Ronald Phillip, Arthur Francis, Sherma, Donald, Lawrence and Margaret Frame, Keith Belfon and family, the Nicholas family of Shantimel, the Martin family of Darbo, and neighbours and friends of Shantimel, Plains and surrounding areas. The funeral of the late Peter Densley Martin, also known as Parley, of Shantimel, who resided at Plains St. Patrick, will take place on Wednesday, July 5th at 2 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the St. Patrick's RC Church, Sataz, and entombment will be at the Marley Cemetery. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Walter Anthony McIntyre, also known as Carlyle, Manitou and Spice, of Grandon St. George, passed away on Friday 2nd June 2023 at the age of 70. He was the father of Dr. Elquimedo Oscar Aline and Calvin and Donica McIntyre in the USA, stepfather of Ruthie, Candy, Sasha and Chaka in the USA, grandfather of Carol, Cameron, Zuri and Zakai McIntyre, step-grandfather of Unique, Jacinda, Leilani, Kalyani, Saranhi, Zaire and Kirani, great-grandfather of Asaya, brother of Emerson, Richard, Paul and Perron McIntyre, Paula St. Louis and Pat Donna Campbell in Grenada, David, Mark, Zoe, Rory and Elroy Charles in the UK, nephew of Carmen McIntyre, Lynette Park, Cynthia and Ralph Williams, brother-in-law of Anastasia McIntyre, Pat Bowman, also known as Mrs. Dr. Sabi, Pastor Elisha St. Louis and Dr. Michael Campbell, father-in-law of Adriana and Leanne, uncle of many including Evelyn, Abigail, Elizabeth, Brittany, Oprah, Brian, Jaron, Jamie, Jamil, Remy and Zachary, caregiver and special friend Pauline Newton, godfather of Junior, Tamika, Charmaine and Adrian. Many relatives and friends including David, Denois and Jesse McIntyre, and Peters, Peter Bernard, Shaba in Trinidad, Ashley St. Bernard and family, Elvin Wells and family, Margaret Robinson and family, Randy Newton, the McIntyre, Coutain, Latouche, Andrews, Dubiset, Depradine, Joseph and Williams families in Grenada, Trinidad and the USA, the Charles, John and Francis families of Plaisance, Walker, Trinidad, Canada, the USA and the United Kingdom, the Tropman family in the USA, the Link family of Lamode, and friends and neighbours of Café Beau Hill and Jean Anglais. The funeral service for the late Walter Anthony McIntyre, also known as Carlyle, Manitou and Spice, of Grandon St. George, will take place on Thursday, July 6th at 1 p.m. Funeral service will be held at the Garden of Remembrance Funeral Chapel, Cemetery Hill, St. George's, followed by private cremation. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Our upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment as you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest. Visit or call Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
Terry Ferret, also known as Puta, of St. David Street, Victoria, St. Mark, passed away on Saturday, 17th June 2023, at the age of 57. The funeral arrangements for the late Terry Ferre, also known as Puta, of St. David Street, Victoria, St. Mark, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lackwell Brothers Funeral Home. Hensley Miles, also known as Yellow, of Pedmotar, St. David, passed away on Wednesday, 21st June 2023, at the age of 57. The funeral arrangements for the late Hensley Miles, also known as Yellow, of Pedmotar, St. David, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lackwell Brothers Funeral Home. Marita Baptiste Batson, also known as Maritz and Granny, of Laborie, who resided at Spring St. George, passed away on Monday, 26th June 2023, at the age of 90. The funeral arrangements for the late Marita Baptiste Batson, also known as Maritz and Granny, of Laborie, who resided at Spring St. George, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Veronica Noel, also known as Vitalis Hagley, of Montu St. George, passed away on Tuesday, 13th June 2023, at the age of 99. The funeral arrangements for the late Veronica Noel, also known as Vitalis Hagley, of Montu St. George, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Royston Godfrey Jelliso, also known as Red George, of Mardi Gras St. David, died on Thursday, 22nd June 2023, at the age of 56. The funeral arrangements for the late Royston Godfrey Jelliso, also known as Red George, of Mardi Gras St. David, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Catherine Campbell, also known as Catherine Drayton of River Road, who resided at Spring St. George, passed away on Monday, 26th June 2023, at the age of 84. The funeral arrangements for the late Catherine Campbell, also known as Catherine Drayton of River Road, who resided at Spring St. George, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lackwell Brothers Funeral Home. Rickelson Toussaint, also known as Rick Boy and Baby Boy, of River Sally St. Patrick, passed away on Tuesday, June 20th, 2023, at the age of 20. The funeral arrangements for the late Rickelson Toussaint, also known as Rick Boy and Baby Boy, of River Sally St. Patrick, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lackwell Brothers Funeral Home. Bernard Buckmeyer, also known as Strongman, of Pedmotar St. David, who resided at Monjaloo St. George, passed away on Friday, 23rd June 2023, at the age of 67. The funeral arrangements for the late Bernard Buckmeyer, also known as Strongman, of Pedmotar St. David, who resided at Monjaloo St. George, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Catherine Lucille Frederick of Bellevue St. David, who resided in Canada, passed away on Saturday, 17th June 2023, at the age of 83. The funeral arrangements for the late Catherine Lucille Frederick of Bellevue St. David, who resided in Canada, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Pearl Agnes Bernard, née Fletcher, also known as Mother, of Munro Street, Victoria, St. Mark, who resided at Snell Hall and Lower Morley, St. Patrick, and in Ontario, Canada, passed away on Tuesday, June 13th, 2023, at the age of 100. The funeral arrangements for the late Pearl Agnes Bernard, née Fletcher, also known as Mother, of Munro Street, Victoria, St. Mark, who resided at Snell Hall and Lower Morley, St. Patrick, and in Ontario, Canada, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lackwell Brothers Funeral Home. Emile Paul Jules of Carriacou, who resided at Mount Craven St. Patrick, passed away on Monday 19th June 2023 at the age of 69. The funeral arrangements for the late Emile Paul Jules of Carriacou, who resided at Mount Craven St. Patrick, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. WRC Leslie and Jacinta Braveboy of Lauriston, Carriacou, passed away on Wednesday 21st June 2023 at the age of 53. The funeral arrangements for the late WRC Leslie and Jacinta Braveboy of Lauriston, Carriacou will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Carol Norma John of Lower Capital Birchgrove St. Andrew passed away on Sunday 18th June 2023 at the age of 43. The funeral arrangements for the late Carol Norma John of Lower Capital Birchgrove St. Andrew will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Joy Veronica Ned of Grosse Pointe St. Mark passed away on Friday 16th June 2023 at the age of 70. The funeral arrangements for the late Joy Veronica Ned of Grosse Pointe St. Mark will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Monica Bernadette Samuel Alexis, also known as Monix's, Monix or Young Girl, of La Femme, who resided at Wester Hall St. David and in Trinidad, passed away on Friday 16th June 2023 at the age of 81. The funeral arrangements for the late Monica Bernadette Samuel Alexis, also known as Monix's, Monix or Young Girl, of La Femme, who resided at Wester Hall St. David and in Trinidad, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Garvin Sean McGilvery of Beausejour St. George died on Wednesday, June 14th, 2023, at the age of 39. The funeral arrangements for the late Garvin Sean McGilvery of Beausejour St. George will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Aaron John, also known as AJ, Aquila, and Baker, of Mondelez St. George, died on Sunday 11th June 2023 at the age of 73. The funeral arrangements for the late Aaron John, also known as AJ, Aquila, and Baker, of Mondelez St. George, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Hubert Ewart Braffett, also known as Bert, Campaign, and Braff, of Monjaloo, who resided at Woburn St. George, passed away on Tuesday 13th June 2023 at the age of 73. The funeral arrangements for the late Hubert Ewart Braffett, also known as Bert, Campaign, and Braff, of Monjaloo, who resided at Woburn St. George, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Joseph Hagley, also known as Bonnie, of Bellevue St. David, who resided in the USA, passed away on Thursday 15th June 2023 at the age of 62. The funeral arrangements for the late Joseph Hagley, also known as Bonnie, of Bellevue St. David, who resided in the USA, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Joseph Lewis, also known as Choiceman, of Florida St. John, who resided at Coast Guard St. Mark, passed away on Saturday 10th June 2023 at the age of 83. The funeral arrangements for the late Joseph Lewis, also known as Choiceman, of Florida St. John, who resided at Coast Guard St. Mark, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Nicola Cara George of Rosehill St. Patrick passed away on Thursday 8th June 2023 at the age of 39. The funeral arrangements for the late Nicola Cara George of Rosehill St. Patrick will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Cutty St. John Worm of Grand Aunt St. George, who resided in New York, USA, passed away on Thursday, 17th February 2022 in New York at the age of 50. A funeral service was held on Saturday, 26th February 2022 in Brooklyn, New York. The funeral arrangements for the service to be held in Grenada will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Augustus David King, also known as Zab, Beggs and Augustus, of Bylands, who resided at Subi St. Andrew, passed away on Saturday, 3rd June 2023 at the age of 70. The funeral arrangements for the late Augustus David King, also known as Zab, Beggs and Augustus, of Bylands, who resided at Subi St. Andrew, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Monica Mary Williams of Tempe St. George, an employee of Nawassa, passed away on Saturday, May 30th, 2023 in Trinidad at the age of 54. The funeral arrangements for the late Monica Mary Williams of Tempe St. George will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home. Imelda Lena Batiste, also known as Mama, of Shantimel St. Patrick, who resided in London, England, died on Monday, May 1st, 2023 in London at the age of 67. The funeral arrangements for the late Imelda Lena Batiste, also known as Mama, of Shantimel St. Patrick, who resided in London, England, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Bailey's Funeral Home. Pastor Dr. Adrian Leroy Marast, also known as Bill, of Hope City St. Andrew, passed away on Friday, May 5th, 2023, at the age of 75. The funeral arrangements for the late Pastor Dr. Adrian Leroy Marast, also known as Bill, of Hope City St. Andrew, will be given in a subsequent broadcast. Funeral arrangements entrusted to Lacqua Brothers Funeral Home.
The management and staff of MTV extend deepest condolences to those of you whose loved ones have passed on. Thank you for watching.
Rest it in the Lord Jesus Christ. Give him that sorrow, that pain. I know it's painful to see that our loved one go. But Jesus Christ in Isaiah chapter 5 tells us that he have taken all of that for us. He was wounded for our transgression. He was bruised for our iniquity. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and by his stripes you would be healed from that loss, brothers and sisters. You would be healed. You would soon overcome. You would still be strengthened. Look at the Lord Jesus Christ. Was bruised, beaten, spit upon, died upon a cross. His mother was there watching that child. Took so much of mankind for nothing that he have done. Yet for her, he took it all upon himself. So today, me and you, when we see what happened to our life, we can look on the cross and know there is a better future for us. It's the same thing here. When I would even say to you, sometimes when some loved one die, call into the condition of that, brothers and sisters, we should more rejoice than being sorrowful. Because God have known the best of that for us. All I want to say here to you today, that trust in God, despite whatsoever it is, get that inner faith, that inner peace. He said, cast all the cares upon him. He said, my yoke is easy and my burden is, just cast it upon him, brother. I know it might be difficult for you to think about how could you do it. Just give it a try. Just a step of faith. Just say, Lord, have your way in me. Lord, keep me through these trial times. And he will do it. He will keep you. When you read through the Psalms 23, the Lord is our shepherd. We shall not want. You read through that Psalms and you recognize that David himself was going through a testing time. And he recognized, even as he said, yea, do I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. You may be walking through the valley of the shadow of death now, but you don't have to fear that evil, brothers and sisters. Because the Lord, the rod and the staff will comfort you. He will take you through that. He will carry you through. God carried the children of Israel through. He can carry you through today. Just give him your all. Give him that trust. You know why sometimes we go through many grief and pain and sorrow for weeks and for days. Sometimes we even take some loved ones with them. Because why? Our heart and our faith is not with the Lord. But I'm telling you today, just trust in the Lord. Just trust in the Lord and he will see you through. Just trust in the Lord and he will make that way for you. Stretch your arm right now and I will pray with you. Father in heaven, I thank you for the God that who you are. You don't think it as men, oh God, Father Lord. Lord, sometimes when you're moaning and groaning, you are still walking. And Father, now you are walking on these lives, oh God, Father. Those who have grieved and have lost ones, oh God, and to them, oh God, all is lost. Father, I know you can restore back unto them presently now. That faith, oh God, Father, that joy. Lord, even David has spoken about it, oh God, in Psalms 51. Oh, restore unto me the joy. Oh God, Lord, and I pray tonight, I pray now, oh God, Father, Lord, that you will restore back unto them, oh God, Lord, that they, oh God, Father, Lord, would put their trust in you. Lord, yet, oh God, Father, Lord, the memory, the evil forces, oh God, the hell, death, and all his guilt and his foes, oh God, Father, Lord, even, oh God, the neighbors and friends and relatives may come to remind them of the past, oh God, to haunt their life. But God, I pray now, oh God, that you will take it away, oh God, Father, Lord, that the memory that you will give them is one to last, oh God, Father, of eternity, oh God, looking, oh God, Father, Lord, that they will meet that loved one at some day, oh God, and they would be together again in joy and happiness, oh God, Father Lord. Never to depart, oh God, Father Lord. I pray now that you touch them. Oh Father in heaven, oh God, Lord. You are all hearing God. And Father, I know you will not fail me. Bless them tonight, oh God, Father. Bless them today, oh God. Wheresoever they are, oh God, whosoever they are. Reach out to them, oh God, Lord, and rest your nail-scar hand upon them and bring them into that fold that they would understand that, as you said, oh God, as you rise, they would rise on the last day. In Jesus' name. Amen and amen. God bless you. I hope what I have shared with you will bring some closure to your pain, your grief, and your sorrow. And God will take you on to a brighter tomorrow. God bless you.